Levantarse, also the same. Despertarse, levantarse, to take oneself up. To, okay. Ir al baño, you saw, going to the washroom. Ducharse, you saw, is to shower. Bajar, go down the staircase. Desayunar is to take breakfast. We saw ayunar is a fast. Desayunar is to break, to disonate. So that's the same logic. Desayunar. Tomar un jugo, yeah, to take a juice. You have jugo de naranja. Jugo de naranja, which is naranja is orange. Jugo de naranja, orange juice. Yeah, cereal. Cereal is cereal. Then tomar un jugo, that's right. Irse or salir de la casa, leaving the house. Tomar el autobús, taking the bus. Tomar un jugo, taking juice. Llegar al colegio, we saw llegar is to arrive. And colegio is school. Sentarse, not to sit down. Estudiar, to study. Comer is to eat. Almorzar is to eat lunch. Ir al parque, we saw is to go to the park. Ir is to go. A, to. El parque, the park. Jugar, to play. Regresar, to return. Hacer las tareas, we saw yesterday that hacer is to do or to make. And las tareas is assignment, homework. So hacer las tareas is to do assignment or homework. Then the cenar, which is to dine. Mirar la tele, watching television. Escuchar la radio. Escuchar is to listen. Mirar is to look. Leer el periódico, to read the newspaper. Acostarse, going to bed, which is the same as dormirse. Now we shall see the conjugation of some of these verbs. You know how you say the first person, second person, third person. So we shall see them in a table, so that to acostumbrarnos, to make ourselves familiar with how they sound and how to say them. Okay. So that was what I had shared previously, and that's why we had stopped yesterday at this table. So we saw to sleep is, how do you say to sleep? Mike? Hello?
To sleep.
Yeah. You saw dormir? Or arse? It's what you just, it's just what you just, is what you saw, is what you just saw here, right?
Yeah.
So here, acostarse or dormirse. So Steve, how do you say to sleep? Hello, Steve, you can hear me? How do you say to sleep?
Yeah. Is it in acostre?
Let me hear it. I can't hear it. I think far from the microphone.
Is it in al acostre? In la domise? Yeah.
Can you see my screen where I'm pointing?
Yes.
So that is the two of them.
Acostarse.
Acostarse or
dormirse.
Or dormirse. So to sleep is acostarse or dormirse. So it's from there that we see this. So acostarse is a infinitive, right? And so you remember what the infinitive means? It means it's the verb before being personalized. It's the to form of the verb, right? So that's the infinitive, the to form of the verb. So to sleep, however, is acostarse in this case. But I sleep is, how do you read this, Mike?
Me acuesto.
Me acuesto.
Me acuesto.
As I sleep. How would you this? So me acuesto. So it's you remember it's a reflexive verb that the person doing is the one receiving the action. So acuesto is I lie. Me acuesto is I lie myself, should say. Literally speaking, but need to sleep. Me acuesto. Me acuesto. How do you say you sleep?
Te acuestas.
Te acuestas. How do you say he or she or usted sleeps?
Se acuesta.
How do you say we sleep?
Se,
Yeah, se
nos
acuesta is the word.
acuesta.
Yeah. How do you say?
Nos is we.
Yes.
So nos acostamos.
Nos acostamos. How do you say you plural sleep?
Os acostáis.
Os acostáis. How do you say they plural sleep?
Se acuestan. Se acuestan.
Se acuestan. Se acu? Sorry, again?
Se acuestan.
Se acuestan. So, how do you say at 8?
8 ni 8.
Yes.
8 ya saa ngapi? 8
Yeah, 8. You can say para tarde, para noche. So how do you say 8 at night?
8 at night.
A las 8 de la noche.
A las 8 de la noche.
Right, a las 8 de la noche. So how do you say we sleep at 8?
Nos acostamos a las 8 de la noche.
Nos acostamos a las 8 de la noche. Muy bien. Steve, how do you say they sleep at 8?
They sleep at 8.
Yeah.
I'll say a las 8. Okay. Okay, a las 8. A las 8 se acuestan.
So a las 8 se acuestan.
Se acuestan, ya.
A las 8 se acuestan.
A las 8 a las cuestan. A las se acuestan.
Se acuestan. So you tend to start with they sleep, se acuestan a las 8. You tend to start with they sleep. So, how do you say, Steve, you sleep at 8?
How do I say? I sleep at 8.
Yes.
Okay. A las 8 me cuesta.
Start with I sleep.
A las 8.
So just start with the I sleep part before saying the time.
A las.
But okay, what so you see when you say a las 8, for example, you see here the previous one.
Okay, yeah,
a las 8 se acuestan, you start with at 8 they sleep. So I was asking you to start with I sleep and then say the time. So start with the I sleep.
Me.
A las.
Anza na me.
Start with this. Me acuesto.
Oh. Me acuesto. Me acuesto.
At 8.
Me acuesto 8 is 8.
8.
A las 8. Me acuesto a las 8.
So it will be me acuesto
a las 8.
A las 8.
Me acuesto a las 8. Now, you remember how to ask at what time? Anybody? ¿A qué hora?
¿A qué hora?
a qué hora? So a qué hora, which is at what time? So a qué hora? Now, how do you ask me? At what time do I sleep? Anybody?
Do you sleep?
Yes.
Let me just try.
Sure. Yeah, I just want you to try to yourself to force yourself to think in Spanish.
¿A qué hora te acuestas?
Muy bien. ¿A qué hora te acuestas? That's right. ¿A qué hora te acuestas? And then how do you reply? I sleep at 9. 9 is 9. So how do you reply? I sleep at 9.
Me acuesto. Me acuesto a las
That's 9. So 9 is 9. So how do you say 9 in the morning? Me acuesto a las 9 in the morning.
Mañana.
Yeah, I can. De la mañana. Yes. Steve, I think your microphone is a bit far.
Okay.
Yeah, you seem to be a bit far from it. So me acuesto a las 9 de la mañana.
De la mañana.
Okay. Now, Steve, how do you ask? At what time do we sleep? At what time? How do you say at what time? So at what time is a qué hora? So at what time? A qué hora. So how do you ask at what time do we sleep? Okay, remember? The KU is a I, is a K, so a K.
¿A qué hora
do we sleep?
acostarse?
No, so remember, me acuesto, acostarse is to sleep.
Okay.
Right? To sleep. That's so acostarse, to sleep. However, me acuesto is I sleep. Te acuestas is you sleep. Se acuesta is he, she, or usted sleeps. Nos acostamos is we sleep. Los acostáis is you, plural sleep. Se acuestan is they, plural sleep. So there's a whole difference between acostarse and me acuesto. It's a difference between to sleep and I sleep. So that's what I was asking. So how do you say at what time do we plural sleep? So it would be a qué hora nos acostamos. A qué hora nos acostamos? At what time do we sleep? Nos acostamos. So how do you say, anybody? We sleep at 8.
Do we sleep at 8?
Yeah.
Nos acostamos a las 8.
Nos acostamos a las 8 at night, of the night.
De la noche.
De la noche. So nos acostamos a las 8 de la noche. We sleep at 8 in the evening. So nos acostamos a las 8 de la noche. Sorry. How do you ask? At what time do they sleep?
¿A qué hora se acuestan?
¿A qué hora se acuestan? And how do you say they sleep? At 10. 10 is 10.
10.
How do you say they sleep at 10?
Se acuestan a las 10.
Se acuestan
Las 9.
a las 10. Se acuestan a las 10. How do you ask to you, Bruno? At what time do you sleep? To you, Bruno. Steve?
Come up again.
How do you ask to a group of people at what time do you sleep? A group of,
Is it a qué hora? Is it a qué hora? Os acostáis?
yes, a qué hora os acostáis?
Yeah.
And how do you say, how would that group respond? We sleep at 11. 11 is on the.
Okay. Os acostáis. 11 is?
On the. So, but,
11.
yes, 11.
Okay. I say os acostáis. De 11.
So, two things.
Alas.
The group, when you say, okay, it's a simple logic that's very important. That is, when the group is saying we sleep, right? You don't. It changes from. I mean, you ask the group, and when the group is responding, it's responding in the first person plural. So it starts with nos acostamos. So you're asking the group, at what time do you sleep? And the group is saying we sleep. And now the we sleep is nos acostamos. Nos acostamos. And then to say at, in Spanish, we start with a las. So we sleep at this time, we start with a las. So a las once. So when you say nos acostamos once, would mean we skip the alas, which means at this time, alas once, it would be we sleep 11. So there's a whole difference between nos acostamos a las 11 or desayunamos a las 8 with desayunamos 8. Why? Because desayunamos 8 would mean the number of people taking breakfast are 8. Desayunamos 8. But desayunamos a las 8 is we take breakfast at 8. It's okay, fine. So me visto, the same with me despierto. Just to skip me visto, me despierto. Right? Me despierto, which comes from despertarse. Despertarse. Which is, how does despertarse mean? To wake up. Right? Despertarse, to wake up. Despertarse. In the sense of to wake oneself up. To wake oneself up. That's the reflexive. The person waking is the person, despertarse. Actually, this is a famous book in Spanish called, very famous, El Despertar de la Señorita Prim. El Despertar de la Señorita Prim. So like the awakening of Señorita Prim. It's very famous. Actually, you could look for it here to see. El despertar. You shall see. I'll just share the screen and you will see it. There are Señorita Prim. Okay. Just share this in a moment. So you see here. El despertar de la Señorita Prim. It's a bestseller. It's a current bestseller. El despertar de la Señorita Prim. Like the awakening de la Señorita Prim. But now to wake up is despertarse. Despertar only is to awaken. So it's that small change. So but going back to our table here. So me despierto would mean?
I wake up.
Yeah, I wake up. Te despiertas would mean?
You wake up.
You wake up. Se despierta would mean?
He or she wake up.
He or she, or the respective form of you, the instead form, wake up. Nos despertamos would mean, Steve?
We
wake up. Os despertáis would mean?
You, plural.
You, plural. And
Wake up.
Despiertan would mean they, plural, wake up. Now, just to hear you say it. So, Steve, how do you read this?
Me despierto.
I think the microphone is a bit far.
Me despierto.
Me despierto. How do you read this?
Yeah. Te despiertas.
Te despiertas. Say it again.
Te despiertas.
Te despiertas. And it would mean? You wake up.
Yeah, you.
This one would, how do you read this?
Se despierta.
Se despierta. And that would mean? He, she, or usted?
Yeah, she.
He, she, or usted would.
Okay.
Right, wake up. How do you read this?
Nos despertamos.
Nos despertamos. Say it again.
Nos despertamos.
Nos despertamos. And this would mean who is waking up?
We.
We wake up. How do you read this?
Os despertáis.
Os despertáis. Os despertáis.
Os despertáis.
And this would mean?
That would mean
who is waking up? You, plural.
Oh, no.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And how do you read the last one?
Se despiertan.
Se despiertan.
Yeah.
Say it again, please.
Se despiertan.
Se despiertan. Se despiertan.
Se despiertan.
And who is waking up?
They are waking up.
How do you say they are waking up at 8?
Se despiertan.
Se despiertan. Again.
Se despiertan.
Se despiertan. At 8.
Is it las 8?
You forget the A. Se despiertan las 8.
A las 8.
And how do you ask, at what time do they wake up?
Ah,
At what hour? You
where?
would ask at what hour? At what hour is ake?
Akihora.
Akihora.
Mm-hmm. Do they wake up?
Akihora.
Mm-hmm. Se despiertan.
Se despiertan. Okay.
So a qué hora se despiertan? Now, ducharse is Mike.
Bed.
Sorry.
Take shower.
Shower.
To take shower.
So, how do you read this, Mike?
Me ducho.
Mm-hmm. This one?
Te duchas.
Te duchas. This one?
Se ducha.
Se ducha. This one?
Nos duchamos.
Nos duchamos. This one?
Os ducháis.
This one?
Se duchan.
Se duchan. How do you say we shower every day? Every day is todos los días. So how do you say we shower every day?
Nos duchamos todos los días.
Nos duchamos todos los días. Nos duchamos todos los días. How do you ask you plural? Do you shower every day?
You plural.
Yeah.
You plural.
So do you shower every day? Remember, in Spanish, there are no do's and don'ts.
So ake.
No, sorry. It's a different, it's not at what time do you shower, but whether do you shower every day.
Okay.
Now, to ask the question in Spanish, you say the same thing. You'd say the same sentence, only you say it with a different tone, a tone of inflection. So how do you say you shower every day? You said, os ducháis.
That's you plural.
Yes. You plural shower every day is os ducháis todos los días, right? That's what you said. Right? Now, to make this a question, you just change the tone of voice and ask, os ducháis todos los días? And now that becomes a question. So, how do you say that? Os ducháis todos los días. How do you say it? How do you say it as a question?
Os ducháis todos los días.
Os ducháis todos los días. Now that's why you see in Spanish there are those marks to show before, but now you're going to you have to put a different tone. And now you're asking a question because there are not those, those markers of questions like do you, don't you? They're not there. What is you just say the same phrase but with a different tone of voice most of the time. So ducháis todos los días. Of course, there are interrogatives also like qué, what, qui, and whom, but you tend, the do's and don'ts, which are the typical question markers, to make us realize you're asking a question and not in Spanish. So we have to use the inflection, the change of tone of voice to communicate it's a question. So how do you ask, do they shower every day?
Nos duchamos todos los días.
So do we shower every day?
Yes.
That is we. Nos duchamos todos los días is do we shower every day? But how do you ask, do they shower every day?
No. Se duchan todos los días.
Okay, se duchan todos los días. ¿Cuántas veces So veces means times. ¿Cuántas is how many? ¿Cuántas veces means how many times? ¿Cuántas veces? No, ¿cuántas veces? How many times? ¿Cuántas veces? Steve, let me hear you say it. ¿Cuántas veces?
¿Cuántas veces?
¿Cuántas veces?
¿Cuántas? ¿Cuántas veces?
¿Cuántas veces?
¿Cuántas veces? Yeah.
¿Cuántas veces? So, how many times? So it's a once you say cuántas, it's already a question. So cuántas veces? How, Steve, how do you ask? How many times do you shower? So how many times?
¿Cuántas?
Times?
¿Cuántas duchas?
Veces.
¿Cuántas veces?
Remember,
Duchas?
cuántas means how many only.
How many?
So cuántas is how many. But how do you say how many times?
¿Cuántas veces?
So cuántas veces. So how do you ask how many times do you shower?
¿Cuántas veces? Is it low?
Sorry?
Te.
Low?
Te.
Te
duchas.
Mhm.
Te duchas.
Te duchas. Te ducharse.
So cuántas veces te duchas? How many times do you shower? ¿Cuántas veces te duchas? Now, a veces means at times. A veces. So at veces is times. So how do you say I shower sometimes or at times? How do you say I shower at times? Anybody?
Me ducho a veces.
Me ducho a veces. Now, okay. Now veces is plural. Singular is ved. Yeah. Alguna vez is sometime. Alguna vez. So veces are plural. Times, ved, singular, or vez. Now, moving on to this last one here. This one shall go very fast. Afeitarse is to shave. Shave. To shave oneself. Me afeito, I shave. Te afeitas, you shave. Se afeita, he, she, or usted. Usted is a respectful form of you. Se afeita, nos afeitamos, we shave. Os afeitáis, you plural shave. Se afeitan, no, they shave. So let me hear you read this after me. Michael.
Me afeito.
Me afeito, I shave.
Me afeito. I shave. Te afeitas.
Te afeitas.
You shave. You shave.
Yeah.
Se afeita. He or she shave.
Shaves, yeah. So let's see, Steve, how do you read from there? Nos. Vamos. We shave.
Vamos.
Sorry?
From where?
From where the my casa is. From the nose.
Okay. Nos afeitamos.
Nos afeitamos, which would mean?
Which would mean we.
We shave.
We shave. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Os afeitas.
Os afeitais. Os afeitais.
Os afeitais.
What should mean?
It would mean, is it plural? Plural.
You.
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 Plural.
Yeah. Yeah. You plural.
You plural. What?
Yes.
So you plural.
You shave.
Shave.
You shave.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have se afeitan. Se afeitan.
Yeah. Which would mean?
Yeah. They shave.
They shave. Okay. How do you say we shave every day? We shave every day.
Nos afeitamos.
Nos afeitamos.
Todos los días.
Todos los días. Okay. And how do you say? I shave sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes in plural. I shave. I shave is?
Me afeito.
Me afeito.
Me afeito.
Me afeito. Sometimes. Sometimes this, or at times. It's the same. At times is?
A veces.
A veces. And how do you ask? Do you shave sometimes or at times? So how do you ask? Do you shave at times?
Do you shave sometimes?
Times. Would be?
Te afeitas a veces.
Muy bien. Te afeitas a veces. You shave at times. Steve, how do you say they shave every day?
Se afeitan a veces.
A veces is at times. But how do you say every day?
Oh, se afeitan.
Se afeitan.
Se afeitan todos los días.
Se afeitan todos los días. Okay.
Obvio.
And Mike, how do you say I shave at 6 in the morning?
Me afeito. Do I put the word alas? Alas. Yes.
Yeah, alas is, it's compulsory because alas means at this time.
Me afeito a las 6 de la mañana.
Muy bien, Mike. Me afeito a las 6 de la mañana. Okay, then me visto. Me visto, so vestirse. Sorry for the disorder, but vestirse is to dress up.
To put on.
So me visto, te vistes, you dress up, se viste, she or she, or usted dress up. Nos vestimos, we dress up. Los vestís, you plural, dress up. Se visten, they plural, dress up. So me visto, te vistes, se viste. Nos vestimos, los vestís, te visten. Okay. So let me hear read it, please. Steve?
Me visto.
Me visto. You're a bit far from the microphone.
Me visto.
Which means?
I dress.
Then?
Okay. Then te vistes.
Te vistes, which means?
she dresses? Is it
You.
No.
you dress? No, yeah?
Why do you think she, Steve?
Because it's more special.
No. You see, these pronouns use them with reflexive, but te only means you. Me only means I in this context of reflexive verbs, whereby the person doing, the person receiving. So te only means you. Se only means he or she or usted. Nos only means
Nos is we.
or os only means you plural, but se only means. So it's it has one particular meaning. So te vistes or te acuerdas or te despiertas only means you. That it's that simple.
Okay.
And the last one would be, or the third person singular would be se viste. Mike, how do you read the remaining three?
Nos vestimos.
Nos vestimos.
Os vestís.
Os
Os
vestis.
vestis. Se vistan.
Se visten. Se visten.
Se vista.
Se visten. Se visten. Okay. Then I wanted us to read this down here. Just a sec. Okay. So here, this part. It's an email. It's a guy is saying about how he is doing. So let's see. Hola, I'll just read first and then you guys will read. Hola a todos, me llamo Bruno, vivo en Brasil, en Salvador de Bahía. Pero durante la semana vivo y trabajo en otra ciudad a 10 kilómetros de Bahía. Soy ingeniero y trabajo en una compañía internacional. Siempre tenemos mucho trabajo. Todos los días, antes de leer los mensajes de correo, leo las noticias nacionales en internet. Después siempre tengo una reunión con mi jefe y organizamos el trabajo del día. Normalmente a las 10:30 tomo un café con mis compañeros de trabajo. Siempre como fuera de casa, excepto los fines de semana, que voy a mi ciudad y como en casa con mi mujer Juliana. Los fines de semana son diferentes, por lo que salimos con amigos a cenar. Vamos al cine o a bailar y también hacemos un poco de deporte. Los domingos por la mañana, mi mujer y yo paseamos por el parque y después desayunamos. Me gusta mi vida. So does it sound familiar? There's a lot of vocabulary you already know, right? Like me amo, vivo, Brasil, semana, trabajo, ciudad, soy, ingeniero, trabajo, internacional, todos los días, leer, correo, ¿no? Normalmente, después, I think we this yesterday, 10:30, café, tomo, comes from tomar, siempre, you have seen. Do you remember siempre? Is always.
Siempre is always, yeah.
Yeah. So como comes from comer, como, I eat. No, casa, you have seen. Semana, you've seen again. Voy, also. Mujer, we saw. We will revise that. Diferentes, porque we saw yesterday. What does porque mean? Because Salir, we saw salidas, salir, amigos, cenar, cine, bailar, un poco de deporte, domingos para mañana, paseamos, parque, desayunamos. And we realize this, what he is saying is something very interesting, just to know, when, although you shall read and then try to translate. But you realize he is saying a lot about his life, and more or less you already have most of the vocabulary you need to say it. So yeah. So let's see. Steve, you can read the first paragraph. And the
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hola a todos.
Mm-hmm.
Me llamo Bruno.
Mm-hmm.
Vivo en Brasil.
Mm-hmm.
En Salvador de Bahía.
Mm-hmm.
Pero durante la semana
Mm-hmm.
vivo y trabajo en otra ciudad.
Mm-hmm.
What do you call 100 in Spanish?
100.
100.
Like this.
Atien.
Is it just TH or an S? 100? Mm-hmm.
Okay. A 100 kilómetros
Mm-hmm.
de Bahía.
Mm-hmm.
Soy
Mm-hmm.
ingeniero.
Ingeniero.
Trabajo. Soy ingeniero
Mm-hmm.
y trabajo
Mm-hmm.
en una compañía internacional. Compañía
Mm-hmm.
internacional.
Mm-hmm.
Siempre tenemos mucho trabajo.
Okay. So what does hola todos mean? Anybody?
Hi today.
How are you today?
A todos is to everyone. So hi everyone. Hola a todos.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. What does mi amo Bruno mean?
My name
My
is
name
Bruno.
is Bruno.
My name is Bruno. How does vivo en Brasil mean?
I live in Brazil.
Yeah. What would and what en Salvador de Bahia would mean? It's an area of Brazil. Yeah, it's an area of
state
Brazil.
or an area?
Yeah, sorry?
Is it a state or an area
Actually,
in Brazil?
Good question. Actually, it could be a state. Yeah, it could be a state. Let me say, yeah, it could be a state. Right? Let me just confirm that. That's so easy to do it. Salvador de Bahia. It's a municipal. Yeah. Yeah, it's a municipal in Brazil. Then, where was I? Pero. What would pero durante la semana would mean? Pero means but. So, pero durante la semana would mean? So, durante is new, maybe, but you can guess it because it comes from during. Durante, during. So, but during la semana. But during
La
semana would mean
season.
La semana. Y remember, los días de la semana. Los días de la semana. Lunes, martes, miércoles. Son días de la semana. Días de la semana. Día significa, what does días mean? Día is day, días days. So días de la semana would mean? Días de days of la semana. So
the days of I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah. So ejemplos de días de la semana. Ejemplos de días de la semana son lunes, martes, sábado y viernes. Son días de la semana. Days of the week.
There is Wednesday.
No, so I'm saying Yeah, examples, ejemplos de días de la semana. The days of the week are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So their days, semana is week. So durante la semana.
Also, semana is the whole week.
Yeah.
But during the week.
Trabajo.
During the week. Trabajo is to play.
No, trabajo is to work.
To work. During the week, I work.
So vivo is?
No.
You said it here before, vivo in Brazil. So durante la semana.
I live.
So vivo y trabajo would mean? I live and work.
So during, but during the week, I live and work and on track.
And?
I live and work
about en otra ciudad. So en would mean vivo in Brazil. You said correctly means?
I live in Brazil.
Muy bien. So en means?
En is in.
Muy bien. So vivo y trabajo en otra ciudad. Otra ciudad is city. Otra ciudad is another city. At 100 kilómetros de Bahía. So at 100 kilometers de means at 100 kilometers of Bahia.
Or Bahia.
Yeah. In English, you'd say from Bahia. So, but here in Spanish, you say a so many kilometers de. So a dash kilometers de. So that's how you'd say in English. En inglés. Soy ingeniero y trabajo en una compañía internacional. What would soy ingeniero mean?
I am what?
Ingeniero. Engineer. Soy ingeniero. ¿Y?
In engineer.
So I'm an engineer. Soy ingeniero. I'm an engineer. Ingeniero means engineer.
I am an engineer. And work.
And I work because trabajo is work, but also it's the first person of I work.
To work.
Because the infinitive is trabajar.
So
saying you remove the last two and you get trabajo. So trabajo would mean I work as much as it also means to work. Or rather, work itself, what you're doing. So that is to say, trabajo, I am working. But when you say tengo trabajo, it means, you remember tengo? Tengo is I have. So tengo trabajo would mean I have work.
I have work.
I have work. So trabajo means, depending on the context, can mean either I am working, the first person of the verb trabajar, or it can mean tengo trabajo, I have work, that I have. Okay, so trabajo en una compañía internacional. What does that mean?
So let me just say that up in English. From I am an engineer and I work in an international company.
Muy bien. Soy ingeniero y trabajo en una compañía internacional. Siempre tenemos mucho trabajo. So tengo is I have.
Always.
Tenemos is we have. So siempre tenemos mucho trabajo, would mean?
Always we have much work.
Always we have much work. Siempre tenemos mucho trabajo. Okay. Muy bien. So Steve, the second paragraph. You can hear me, Steve? It seems it's far. So you can just continue, Mike. Todos los días.
I read.
Yeah, I think Steve is a bit far from me. Todos los días.
Todos los días. Antes de leer los mensajes, leo las noticias nacionales en internet. Después siempre tengo una reunión con mi jefe y organizamos el trabajo del día.
Muy bien. Yeah, very good. So todos los días, every day, antes de leer los mensajes de correo. Todos los días, antes de leer los mensajes de correo. What does leer mean? Anybody? Leer, we saw it not today, but another day before, the day before. What do you mean? We read. Or rather, leer is to read.
Yeah.
So, antes de leer los mensajes de correo, leo las noticias. So this one is noticias. Noticias nacionales. And noticias are news. So leo las noticias nacionales is, So leer is to read. Leo is the first person. Because of the same logic. You remove the last two and you add a no. And you get Leo. Leo las noticias nacionales en internet. Después, siempre tengo una reunión. Eso tengo means. Just seen it right now.
I have.
Después, siempre tengo una reunión con mi jefe y organizamos el trabajo del día. So, Steve, what do todos los días antes de leer los mensajes de correo mean? ¿Qué significa esta primera línea? ¿Qué quiere decir?
Every day. Every day.
No, so todos los días is every day, right?
Yeah, every day.
Antes de means antes is before. So before.
Oh, antes before.
Yeah.
Every day before I read. Every day before I read. Before I read my messages.
So los mensajes are the messages. The messages.
Before I read their messages.
The like the messages.
Okay.
If I read the messages.
Before I read the messages. What does correo mean? The correo.
Of mail. You remember?
Oh.
You remember?
Yeah.
Remember how you say email?
Yeah.
How?
So every day before I read the messages from email.
No. So I was asking, do you know what is email in Spanish? We saw it before, correo electrónico.
Correo.
It's correo, mail, electrónico, electronic. No. We saw that in Spanish, el sustantivo se empieza con el sustantivo. So I like in English you say White House. In Spanish you say
Casablanca.
So in English, yeah. So in English, now what you are describing comes last. In Spanish, what you are describing comes first. So that's why you say, you don't say the mail, correo, comes before electronico, and the general rule. Casablanca, in English, you'd say the house comes after. You say the color, you describe it. But in Spanish, the house comes before. So there's usually that switch. You don't say a beautiful tie in Spanish. You say a tie, beautiful. There's that switch. You start with what you're describing, and then you describe it. Now, that's why you say correo electrónico instead of electrónico correo. And as we say in English, electronic mail. You start rather the other way around. So here you are. Leo, antes de leer los mensajes de correo, before I read the messages of the mail. How do leo las noticias nacionales en Internet would mean? Leo las noticias nacionales en Internet would mean? So it's all leer is?
To read. Read.
Yeah. And leo is?
Is it reading?
So you remember the same rule. For the first person, you remove the last two letters and you add a no. To get?
Okay.
I read.
I read.
I read.
So leo las noticias nacionales en Internet.
So is it I read the notices? I read the national notices in the internet.
Okay. So noticias is news.
Obvio.
Yeah, noticias is news. So noticias, leo las noticias nacionales en Internet. So I read, so it's news is a notice, but yeah, so noticias would translate more to news in this context. Very well. Then después siempre tengo una reunión con mi jefe. So después we say this after. So siempre tengo, I always have, una reunión is a meeting. Con mi jefe. What would con me mean? These two. Con me would mean? Con is with, me is my. So con mi jefe, with my boss. So jefe is chief, boss, the person in charge. Y organizamos el trabajo del día. Now this one is possible to translate. Organizamos el trabajo del día. Would it be?
Ready? Just repeat what you said.
What would organizamos el trabajo del día mean? This last part. So organizamos
it's about the organization of the work of the day.
Muy bien. So organizar is to organize. Organizar is to organize. However, no, organizamos is the third person. You remove the R and you put the mos. How do you say I organize? If organizar is the infinitive.
Mi organizamos.
So sorry, organizar is the infinitive, is the full verb. So from there, from the full verb, how do you get the first person?
Organizamos.
No, organizamos is sorry.
Organizar.
This is you are meant to work from this. This is one that is the infinitive, then conjugated form.
Organizazo.
Organizo. I organize. So we remove the AR. For the first person, you remove the last two, and you put a no. You get organizo. Right. Okay. For the third person, you remove the R, and you add a mos. Organizamos. Okay. So Mike, you can read the last one.
normalmente, a las 10:30 horas, tomo un café con mis compañeros de trabajo.
So, normalmente a las 10:30 tomo un café con mis compañeros de trabajo. Normalmente a las 10:30 horas tomo un café con mis compañeros de trabajo. How would that be in English?
Normally at 10:30 hours. Tomo, we say we go to.
So the infinitive of tomo is tomar.
Which is? I'm trying to
tomar
figure it out.
Desayuno, tomar el bus is to take. Miss waiting, tomar el bus, tomar el desayuno. You remember those pictures. Yeah, we saw it in this context. Yeah, tomar un jugo de naranja. So we saw tomar un jugo. To take, which we saw is
juice.
Take juice. And then you saw it here, tomar el autobús, which is to take
a bus.
To take the bus. So, and here he is saying, tomo un café. So tomar is infinitive. And tomo is the first person. And how do you know that? You remove the AR, you add a no, and you get the first person, tomo. So normalmente a las 10:30 tomo un café con mis compañeros de trabajo. What would that last part mean? Tomo un café con mis compañeros de trabajo. Would mean in English?
I take to the cafeteria. In the camp in this company of my work.
So un café is something means coffee. So let's see something here. Café. Un café. Yeah. So you see this no, un café. Un café, and these are the kind of things you get. Buenos días. Un café. Vamos por un café. Now this one, for example, vamos por un café is you're going for coffee.
Coffee.
So you realize the way we take here tea, for example, is the way in Spain they take coffee. So there's a lot of vamos por un café. No, let's go for coffee. And this one is ¿Quieres un café? Let me just show it from here. No, ¿Quieres un café? It's another very famous thing. You enter somewhere and somebody is asking you, ¿Quieres un café? You want some coffee? ¿Quieres un café? You see this, si te invito un café. If I invite you, si te invito un café, vienes. Will you come? Si te invito un café, vienes. So un café is a very common thing that you would hear a lot in one of these context. Yeah. Tomemos un café. Tomemos also comes from tomar. Tomemos un café. Tomemos un café. Now this is a poem about just how the café is all encompassing. El café es la mejor compañía de todo. El café, you would guess what would that mean? El café.
The coffee.
Muy bien, el café es la mejor. El café is by itself means is. So el café is la mejor, the best, compañía, companion. So compañía is company. Compañero is companion. So el café es la mejor compañía de todo. Is the best company of all, de todo. Hace frío, it's cold, un café. Estoy triste. I am sad, un café. Está lloviendo, it's raining, un café. Para platicar, to speak, in order to speak. So, para yesterday, para platicar, in order to speak, un café. Estoy estresado. What would estresado mean? Stress. It's a word. Estoy estresado. I'm stressed. Estoy estresado. Un café. Estás estresado. You're stressed. Un café. En el desayuno. This you know for sure. En el desayuno would mean?
Desayuno is breakfast.
In the breakfast. En is in. El de desayuno. Un café.
In the breakfast. Un café.
Un café. Sorry, why I allow myself to get distracted by this small concept is to put you in the bigger context of what you'd find in outside a class, right? But if I don't say that class is Google, in that sense. So, al asistir de un café con mis compañeros de trabajo, with my companions of work. Siempre como fuera de casa. Siempre, which is always, como comes from comer. So, I mean, so you can see how important it's to have these rules, these reglas, as they say, to change on how these things change. Siempre como, the same thing. Comer is to eat, but to say I eat is como, because you remove the last two letters of the infinite to get como. So siempre como, I always eat fuera de casa, out of the house, excepto.
Fuera is out of the house.
Yeah. So de casa, fuera is out. Fuera. So if I say fuera is out. Fuera. But no, fuera de casa is out of the house. Fuera de casa. Because of course casa is house. Excepto los fines de semana. Excepto, claro, is.
Except.
So los is an important article because it's there before plural nouns or plural object. So los fines de semana. So fin de semana is weekend. So fin de semana, weekend. Fines de semana is weekend. Okay. Que voy. No, que voy a mi ciudad. Voy a is I go to. Voy a mi ciudad. We saw it yesterday from the conjugation of ir. Ir is to go. I am going is voy. I'm going to voy a. So voy a mi ciudad is I go to my city. Y como en casa con mi mujer. Now let me see. What would be como en casa mean?
I eat in the house.
Muy bien. Con mi mujer would mean?
With my wife.
Con is with?
My wife.
Yeah, with my wife. Con mi mujer. Muy bien. Con mi mujer.
My wife, Juliana.
Yeah. So it's not Juliana. Juliana is English. It's Juliana. Then, los fines de semana son diferentes. What does that mean? Los fines de semana son diferentes. It's the article there before before plural,
The plural.
plural of objects. I mean, plural of things that are actually masculine. So,
All the weekends.
the weekend, los fines de semana son diferentes.
Son,
Guess. We have seen it, but just guess. Soy, I am. Son is they are. So los fines de semana son diferentes. They are different. ¿Por qué salimos con amigos a cenar? Porque salimos con amigos a cenar. So, what would that mean? Porque salimos con amigos a cenar. ¿Por qué is? Because salimos is comes from salir. Salir. Salir, which is here, salir. Just for it, to help in the mental connection. Salir de casa. Salir de casa is always to leave the house. Salir de casa. So that's where you're coming from. So salimos is a plural. Salir is to leave. Salimos is we
leave.
So salimos con amigos a cenar. What does con mean? With. So because, porque salimos, we live con amigos, with friends, a cenar. Vamos al cine, we go to the, okay, this is for sure, vamos al cine would mean?
We go to the cinema.
Muy bien, you go to the cinema. O, a bailar. The single o, it means or. O, a bailar. What would o a bailar mean? Or, a bailar would mean? Bailar is to dance. So vamos al cine or a bailar. Y también hacemos un poco de deporte. So también, y so también, also, tampoco, neither. So también hacemos would mean? We do un poco, a bit, or sport. Los domingos por la mañana would mean? Sunday mornings, los domingos por la mañana. Mi mujer y yo paseamos por el parque. Paseamos, we walk, paseo por el parque y después desayunamos. So, mi mujer y yo, we walk by the park, por el parque y después desayunamos. Later, we take breakfast. Me gusta mi vida. That would mean, I like my life. So, anyway, it has been a difficult lesson, but you realize it's difficult to generally to remember vocabulary without constant exposure to them. No, you only remember when we hear them often. Yeah, that's why it's nice if you can even to listen to the class even later if you have the time, even without concentrating, so that you can hear the words. Yeah. Then another thing before we finish is you can download Duolingo. I think I talked about you with it, Steve, right?
Yeah.
Duolingo. You can download it, and that will be help to build upon what you listen in class. In the sense that in class you move quite fast. You see a lot of stuff very fast. But then Duolingo is maybe more systematic, and yeah, can help build it up.
Okay.
Otherwise, very well. You have a question?
No.
Okay. Let me first stop recording. Yes. Okay, we shall talk maybe outside the class.